Guys, I have a problem. This is the third Fender Excelsior that I've bought. I love these amps. Every time I sell one, I immediately regret it and immediately start looking for another one. So today we're going to talk about the Fender Excelsior, its history, the corks that it has, and why this is such a great amp and I love it so much. So stick around. Now, Fender built the Excelsior in 2012 and 2013, and it was part of their Pawn Shop series. Now, that series kind of focused on building amps and some instruments that were kind of quirky that you would try to find or you would find in a pawn shop that were kind of not the normal guitar. And of all of those instruments and amps, I think this one was probably the most popular. These amps are really, really unique for a couple reasons. For one, it's a 13 watt amp with a 15-inch speaker. And that just immediately kind of puts this amp in a weird space. Now for me, I love 15-inch speakers. And that's kind of one of the draws about this amp that I really love. The 15-inch speaker really can move a lot of air, and when you're playing live or you're playing on stage, you really feel that air moving in a way that 10s or even 12s they do it, but it has a different sound. It keeps the low end. It doesn't flub out the low end as much as like a 10-inch speaker would. My first Fender Excelsior, I got it, and I love the big 15-inch speaker for how it felt when I was playing and the air that it moved and how it really maintained the low end really well, provided a lot of clarity to the low end. I sold my first Fender Excelsior to buy a Victoria 2112, and that is a great amp, but this is a great amp as well. And at the time, I thought I needed to buy an expensive amp to validate me, and that just wasn't the case. The Fender Excelsior was a great amp for me, and it was exactly what I needed, but I sold it so I could have a really expensive amp, just to say I had a really expensive amp. Now, another really kind of quirky, unique thing about this amp is the power section. So it has a 6v6 power section with 12 AX7s. Now, the previous owner put 12 AY7s in it to take the volume down a little bit because he was playing in an apartment and he just couldn't crank that loud. But at 13 watts, this thing can get pretty loud. You're essentially getting a Princeton amount of volume through a 15-inch speaker, which I just love. Now, another thing that I love about these amps is the price range. I got this amp for $275, and for an all-tube amp, $275 really is a no-brainer. Now, these things have gone up in value. This one obviously has been played and gigged, and it's been beat, so it's on the cheaper end, but you can still pick these up all day long for $350. Now, this split chassis design is kind of unique. I won't say that it's the only amp that does this, but it does give you a little bit of a... Hell, I don't know what it does. It just is weird. So let me know what you think it does in the comments. Okay, now the Fender Excelsior isn't perfect. It does have some quirks and some things that I do not like about it. For one, it doesn't have a treble, middle, bass control knobs. It only has a tone switch. So you can either have tone off or tone on. Now, some guys will goose that switch and get it right in the middle so you get the best of both worlds. But a lot of people will put a tone knob where that tone selector switch is. One of the reasons I bought this amp is because it has already had that mod done to it. In every Fender Excelsior that I've had, I've always done that mod because it just gives you a little bit more control over the sound. Another thing that I don't love about this amp is where the power input is and where the on-off switch is. Now, this isn't really a big deal, but it being so low down here, trying to reach behind the amp and turn it on just is really an inconvenience. I wish Fender would have just extended this top plate a little bit and put the switch on top. Would have made things so much easier. A lot of times I have my amps against the wall, and so trying to get back there and reach back there to turn it on can be a bit of an inconvenience. The last thing that I don't love about this amp is the housing that it's in. Now, granted, I don't hate this housing. I think it has this cool kind of postmodern 50s vintage vibe to it. but having this huge piece here and here, right in the front of the cone, really, I think it affects the sound. And I'm not really sure. I don't have any proof to back that up, but I think that having that wood there is going to affect your sound. And how the speaker is moving air. And so one of the things that I would love to do is rehouse this. Now, like I said, these are not expensive amps, and so rehousing it would probably cost more than what I paid for the amp, but I just love these things so dang much that I may just rehouse it and see what it does. Now, like I said, this is not an expensive amp, so rehousing it would probably cost more than the amp itself. But that said, I love the 13 watt package with the 15-inch speaker so much. I'm definitely going to keep this amp, so it may be worth the investment. Who knows? Now, you can find information about these amps pretty much everywhere. A couple things that I didn't highlight earlier. It has a tremolo circuit, which sounds really great. It's really lush, which is really nice. It's got a tone selector, which someone has changed to a tone knob, which is the mod that I love to do, that I always do on these amps. And then it has a volume, and that's pretty much it. Now, it has three separately voiced inputs. It has one for guitar, one for mic, and one for accordion. And their differences are subtle, but they are different. And I have always found myself using the mic input for the kind of sound and style that I was going for. So I don't really know the specifics on how they're voiced differently, but I do know that they sound different. And I have always used the middle one, the mic position, because it sounds just a little bit different, a little bit more almost lively, I guess, than the guitar one. The guitar input to me has always sounded a little anemic, but that's just my preference. Okay, there is one more modification that I'm going to do to this amp, but you'll have to stick around and find out. So I'm not going to really tell you, but I will be doing that modification soon. So make sure you subscribe, like this video, and come back to the channel so that you can see what else I'm going to do to this amp. I'm pretty excited about it. It's gonna be pretty awesome. So stick around, make sure you subscribe. Okay, y'all. So I think that's a pretty good rundown, good place to stop with this Fender Excelsior amp. Like I said, I love these things. I've bought 3 of them. I got rid of 2 of them, and I have instantly regretted it. So if there's one in your local area, pick it up, try it out. Why not? Like I said, they've developed a cult following, and so you can turn them around pretty easy. I just love these things. I don't know why. I like things that are underrated, and I like things that are overlooked. And I feel like these amps are overlooked a lot of times because of the way they look and that they're not, a Princeton reverb or something. Okay, so that's everything that you probably did and didn't want to know about the Fender Excelsior and why I love them so much. So now let's talk about what I've been listening to this week. So this week I actually went back and listened to Brent Cobb's, I think, 2016 album, Providence Canyon. That record is so good. I haven't listened to it in a while, and so I went back and listened to the track to the record in its entirety, and man, it just sounds so good. Providence Canyon is a great song. Come Home Soon I love those songs, those reflective kind of, I don't know, emo country songs. I love those. Loreen is good, and one other one, what was I thinking of? Sucker for a Good Time is such a great song. Brent does this country funk thing, which I think is what he was trying to go for on this record, really well. And so when you layer that on top of really great songwriting, you have tight playing, it sounds good. The guitar playing on it is great. So the intro lick for pedal steel on Providence Canyon just gets me every time. Every time I hear that lick, it just has such a vibe to it. The pedal steel almost has this like wobble or something going on, some effect going on that really kind of makes it almost sound like it's breaking up a little bit. I don't know. It's a great sound. So anyway, check that record out. It's a fantastic record. It's one of my all-time favorites. So be sure to check out Brent Cobb, Providence Canyon. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Like I said, if you wouldn't mind subscribing, liking, that's all great. I appreciate it. I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you soon. Peace.